Fancy. So this is me and Wayne, or should I say Solobach? The proper
Either's
term.
fine.
And we both have something in common. We are both type 9 on the Enneagram and in instinctual variance, spsx. So I thought it would be fun to see a female and a male spsx and type 9. And I don't know, whatever we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was going to say how spsx, because we were saying this, how it comes across as SJ-like because we tend to get stuff done. So my theory is that people were thinking you're ISTJ because you're SPSX, and it comes across as very like J-like or something.
Yeah. I was actually wondering that because like when I first saw one of the descriptions of self-preservation, I was like, this sounds really SJ like. I was like, am I really SP? And then I looked at SX and SL. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm self-preservation.
Yeah, it's definitely different because I actually had my friend argue me about it because I took on the test and it said like SXSO or something, and they're like, there's no way that you're that. There's no way. And I was like, oh, but I like people. They're like, yeah, but do you have this like crazy drive to connect with people in an intimate way? I was like, well, yeah, but when you say it like that, not like that. So, favorite description, it said we're like the princess and the pea kind of thing. Like if there's a pea under a mattress, we would notice it. And I was like, yes, I'm an SPSX. So.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I haven't really studied the instinctual variance that much because like when I first heard someone's description of them, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely self-preservation, and then I kind of moved on from there. I didn't even really look at, and then more recently I did look at SX and SO to figure out like if I'm really SX second or SO second. I was like, okay, I definitely relate more to SO blind spot than SX blind spot.
Gosh, yeah, me too. Because I would be in a forum or something, and people would be like, "Oh, that thread, it's blowing up," and I'm like, "What do you mean? It's fine. Everybody looks happy." And they're like, "How could you not see that? How could you not see the undertone?" I'm like, "Oh gosh, I am SO retarded, aren't I?" I don't really see what's going on in the whole group. Like it's almost like the big picture thing where I notice how individuals feel, but not as much like they say SO is like you walk into a room and you know the social hierarchy. Like you can tell like that's kind of the leader, that's the way. I'm like, I'm just like, I go in a room and I'm like, it's cold in here. I wish I would have brought a jacket.
Yes. That's how I am. I'm just like focused on like what I'm getting out of the moment, which I always thought was like more extroverted sensing type of thing. But like it's interesting to hear the point of view of an INFJ self-preservation because it sounds a bit contradictory to me, like FE versus SP.
It is.
So
yeah. My friend and I were talking about that too. He's like, you're kind of like a hybrid because SPSX is mostly an NT kind of thing. Because my friend who's INTJ, who's SPSX, he has all these projects, these tech projects, he gets them done. And I was like, well, that would explain why I do art and why I'm in tech. And I love both. Like, because it really floored me when I found out I was INFJ, and I was just like, wait, but I'm in technology, and this is talking about googly painting and writer and therapist. And I'm like, oh my God, am I in the wrong field? I had like a mental crisis over it for a while. But then I was like, yeah, I like both. So I'm allowed, right, to like both. So,
yeah. But yeah, what were you saying before about the about being SJ like? So like one of the things about SP that I don't relate to is like being focused on paying the bills and taking care of your health. I mean, that's all stuff that's been like kind of ingrained in me by my SJ mom, my ESFJ mom. So that's kind of the only place I get that from, but it's not something that comes naturally to me. I've been known for being late on paying my bills and not being like, at this moment, I literally do not have a clue how much is in my checking account. I have a rough idea, but like, I would not be able to tell you like, what's, I don't even know what my monthly budget is.
Not me either.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, all the ISTJs are probably cringing if they're any watching it right now, but But yeah, taking care of myself in general, I see it as more like just making sure like I'm enjoying the moment, making sure that I can enjoy tomorrow, and beyond that, I'm like, okay, we'll just see how it goes, and I'll just deal with life as it comes. But I still see it as like I'm definitely more self-preservation than any of the other instincts,
Mm.
just because I'm focused on my needs as I define them.
Have you ever heard or they claim that a lot of people like SPSXs, but we don't like everybody else. So, when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I could kind of see it. People remember my name. They're like, oh, hey, Anna. I'm like, who the hell are you? And then I feel bad. I'm thinking, God, I don't remember them. And at least I have a face. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. It was nice to meet you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I really thought about much, but I would definitely say it's probably true of me.
Yeah, I was like, okay. And then somebody else who was good with the Enneagram had told me, let's see, like SPSXs, say if we go to a party, we'll grab a drink and we'll immediately go to like a darkened corner to hang out. And people will come to us. Like inevitably, people just are drawn to us. We seem like that, I guess, quiet, confident, mysterious type of vibe. So
yeah, I thought it was just I've always thought it was just me being an introvert.
Me too.
And like but that's oh, it's been years since I've even been to a party, but yeah, that's totally it. Like it's just hard to go unnoticed. And like sometimes I'll be actually interested in just listening to a conversation, but then they'll turn to me and go, "So Wayne, what do you think?" And like, "Oh, I'm actually here."
I was kind of zoning out. I'm like, oh wait, where did I lose it? We're coming back. That's funny. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean about trying to go unnoticed. It does seem like it's like I'm like, maybe it's, I don't know if it is a 9 thing either, or SPSX, but I've noticed that it's like, do I have like some kind of beam around me? I used to think there's something wrong with me. I'm like, do I have something stuck to my shoe? Is that why people are looking at me, or in particular or something? We also say, I do know a couple of little quips things about SPSX. They also say, who told me this? I can't remember. I think, just went out of my head. Darn it. Well, whatever. It'll come back if it's important.
Well, I actually wonder if that's not as much an aspect of being SPSX, but not being SO, or like other people having SO as like their first or second instinct, and so they're the ones who are going to be aware that, oh, there's this person who's not talking to anyone. Oh, I should like try to see if they're comfortable, or I want to get to know this person. That's more of like like an SO or whatever type they are, if they're like a FE dominant or whatever.
Yeah. And when they said the thing about the party, I haven't been to party in years too. Oh, that was what I was going to say. No, I remember it because they said SPSXs don't leave the house very much. I was like, hey, I do. And I forget who it was. Maybe it was Ellen, I think. And he said, other than going shopping, things you have to do. And I'm like, well, or like hobbies that you have, do you leave the house? And I'm like, no, probably not really. Which cracked me up when people in this socionics forum were like, are you sure you're not whatever the ENFJ equivalent was? And I was like, I'm sure. Trust me, I'm sure. So,
yeah. That's pretty much true. So I actually think about going out a lot more than I actually do.
Yes, me too. Or I see events and I actually have it lined up. I'm like, look, I could go here on Saturday at Kame's J too, because I'm like, I could go here on Saturday at 4 o'clock, and then if that doesn't work out, I could go there. And then the day comes and I'm just like, I don't really want to do it. It's a cool idea, but it's probably gonna be crowded and there's people and it's gonna be hot and just nah.
Yeah, like, well, yeah, and this past week, that's last weekend, Memorial Day weekend, that was actually my first time like going out on a road trip since like last 4th of July, last year, so like 10 months or whatever. And like even that day, I was like sitting at home and like thinking, I'm tired. Do I really want to do this thing that I've been thinking about doing? And yeah, I don't know. And then finally I decided, okay, I'll just go. And I just called and made a motel reservation, and I just got in my car and packed a few things and left. And I was like, oh yeah, it was a fun trip. But yeah, that's when I think about my life. I think, yeah, I do those kinds of things, but they're so few and far between. Like on a typical day, I'm just more like this. I'm just relaxing at home and wasting the day. But well, I don't mean this, but
well, no, I know what you mean. Do you ever think like yeah, well, I do that too, but I don't know. I don't know if this is a J thing or SPSX or whatever. But I'll be like, even if I'm watching a TV show, I'm like, yeah, but I have so many projects I need to do and that I want to do. I have a hard time relaxing sometimes because I'm like thinking, in the back of my head, all these things I could be doing. You could be more productive. You could be more productive. So I don't know if that's anything.
Well,
but.
Yeah, I used to kind of do that before I figured I was an ISTP. And I kind of
nice.
like figuring out as an ISTP kind of gave me more freedom to be myself and to like, yeah, just to enjoy like those moments where I'm just like doing whatever I feel like doing, and like, oh yeah, these things can wait. And like once I get to a point where like I absolutely realize, oh, this stuff is piling up. I better get to this pile of this to-do list, and then I'll start knocking things off. But then otherwise, like, if I'm just, the Saturday rolls around, I had nothing planned, I just enjoy the fact that I had nothing planned. But yeah, when I was younger, yeah, it was kind of more like, all these SJs in my head kind of saying, you have to be productive, you have all this stuff you need to do. But
that's true. I was raised by ISFJ, so we're both raised by SJ.
Yeah.
So I might have that going, the tape in my head too. But.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, another SPSX thing. I know more than I thought. Yay.
Okay.
Somebody else said that we tend to teach people, and I was like, well, I'm kind of more of a reluctant teacher just because we learn things for SP value, for self-preservation. So I was like, well, if I'm not passing it on, what's the point? So I don't know if that's FE or if you do the same thing or not, but
I think for you, it might be more of an FE thing, like the desire to pass on your knowledge to others. I've also heard that it's kind of part of maybe Enneagram 9 to want
true.
Yeah, to kind of spread your peace to everyone else or whatever, and like teach others how you achieved it or whatever. Yeah, I'm not so much like that. Like I don't really care if others know the same stuff that I know. It's like, I mean, I'll make videos and I'll make Facebook posts just for whoever is interested, and like kind of hoping that others will catch on. But like I won't like try to approach people and pass on my knowledge, or suggest like, oh, hey, you should try this, unless they ask.
Yeah, I don't do that either, and I don't like when other people are pushy about that kind of stuff, so I don't either. But like, yeah, if people ask about, well, I guess the easiest example is rural. Like, I don't really, unless it comes up, I don't see a reason, or like politics or any of those heavy topics. Anyway, I guess maybe that's a 9 thing. I'm like, I don't want to get in conflict.
Probably. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any in their 9 things. I don't think we have to stick to the topic.
Yeah. But I think in my case, it's more like the things that I learned for my, like, things that work for me, I realize are probably not going to work for other people, just because these are just things that I thought of for myself and they work for my own lifestyle. And I know that not everyone is in the same lifestyle that I'm in. Like, not everyone lives alone like I do. Not everyone is single. A lot of people have kids. Like, I know you have a kid, so I know. And then not everyone goes to church. Not everyone has a flexible daytime job. So it's like, I know there are just too many factors that are going to, kind of throw things off for other people if they try to do the same things that I do. So
yeah, and I do that too. oh sorry, well, with like Facebook posts and blog posts and videos too, I just make whatever's in my head and I just put it out there just for the heck of it, or like you said, for fun. I'm really surprised that it resonates with so many people. I'm actually surprised because people are like, oh wow, I've been thinking about it too, or oh wow, that really helps me. I'm like, well, that's awesome, but weird. I didn't really, because I don't assume anybody thinks the same way I do or same kind of thing like you do. I kind of don't assume that they have the same kind of mindset that I do or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sort of unassuming, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, the teaching, yeah. But again, it sounds like, the teaching others what you've learned sounds more like an SJ thing, which may be why SPSX is kind of known for teaching others your techniques, because SJs do that.
True. And my friend who's an INTJ SPSX does teach a lot of people like technology stuff, and that's like his passion, but that's his passion. So
yeah.
And that's with the SPSX probably is more, I don't know, driven in that way. Or like you said, there's a lot of SJs, so sometimes the least, I don't know how they would know this really, I don't know statistically if it's that popular enough, that we are the least amount of variants. So we're like the most rare variant, or one of the most rare variants.
Oh, really?
Well, and they said SPSO is the most common one. So I guess most SPSO. So I found that kind of interesting.
I didn't know that.
I was like, that would make sense, but I think I'm a weirdo. But I mean, our INFJ part or any type, well, ISTPs are more rare than ENFPs and ESFPs. Then you guys are really not super common in the population either, statistically.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
It's easy for me, me and INTJs to pull the rare card, but you guys have it too, actually.
Yeah. But yeah, it makes me wonder, like, how rare are ISTP 9 SPSXs?
Yeah, I wonder about like when you're combining all the systems and stuff. I know some people are purists, but I think combining it brings like a lot of depth to why we are the way we are and stuff.
Mm.
I'm trying to think if I had anything else I could think of. Oh yeah. Have you ever noticed, or do you have where like if you're I have a curiosity. Like when you first wake up, do you have to eat like within an hour or two?
I notice. I'll notice I'm usually hungry, but if something distracts me, then it'll be like in the back of my mind, like, oh yeah, I need to eat, but I'll still get easily distracted. And then maybe like an hour later, I'll be like, oh, I'm so hungry. I'm like, oh wow, it's been an hour already. Like, oh, I meant to eat like an hour ago. So it's it's one of those things where it's like, it'll be like, I know I need to do it, and it'll be on my mind, but I might not actually do it for a while.
I say an hour because I've known and SOS, my son's father, back in the day when we lived together, of course, he could go like 6 or 7 hours, and I'm like, what? And then I go, he goes, I think I'm hungry. Or he'd start acting loopy, like blood sugar is off, and I go, are you okay? Like, when did you last eat? He's like, yesterday. I'm like, what the hell? I was like, what? To me, that's insane. Like, I would be losing my marbles. So I was like, I wonder if that's a maybe SP dominant thing more so than SPSX. But I've noticed that's kind of a trend with the different people that I've been around, that were they were always different variants than me. So they could wait for 6, 7, 8 hours before eating. I can't do that. 5, maybe 6 hours, I've noticed. But
yeah. I mean, for me, it only happens if I get really distracted by something.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well, that's why I was
I'll lose
curious.
yeah.
Yeah, since you're a P, like, does it override it or something?
Yeah. But yeah, usually what happens is I'll get distracted, and at some point I'll realize, oh my gosh, I'm really hungry. And I'll look at the time and go, oh, that's why.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I know I'll think of other things later. Can I think of more 9 stuff?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean the instinct, because I haven't really studied the instincts all that much. I mean,
I guess you probably know more about 9 than I do because you went through it so thoroughly. I loved your video. That was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is kind of fresh to my mind. The only thing is I don't really know much about the other types, like the types that I didn't look into. It's like, I went through like, especially like types 1, 2, 3, and 4. I just kind of immediately dismissed because like, okay, I'm not any of those. The rest of them, I mean, I've tested as 6, I tested as 5, I tested as 7 once, I think. But yeah, when I read those, I was like, okay, definitely not those. So yeah, once I dismissed, well, I don't know, because I dismissed 9 the first time I heard about it, but then I didn't actually test as 9 until like sometime earlier this year.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm like, no, that looks too. I mean, yeah, sure, I like peace. Doesn't everybody? I'm an NF, but like, not at all costs. That seems kind of extreme.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it's really flowery, because I think it's kind of like the INFP description in a way. It's like hard to tell if you're one because I feel so bad for INFPs because it's the same thing. Actually, I read it. One of my coworkers, I talked about MBTI finally to him. He took the test. He got ENFP, but I kind of think he's an INFP. So same thing. I said like, oh, check out the description, and their description looks so much better now. So anyway, hopefully they'll do that with 9 as well.
Yeah, because one of the 9, I forgot which website it was, but it talked about like being one with the cosmos and stuff. And like, what in the world?
For most people, you're like, and even I was like, yeah, but how does this relate to what my motivation is? My motivation is to be one with the cosmos. I mean, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think even to this day, I think people probably still think I come across as a 5, or or their impression of what a 5 looks like. Like I said in my video, it's just basically just me being a TI Dom and having the same, similar traits.
I do too, or sort of in a sense. One dude looked me up that I worked with like 15 years ago, not too long ago, and I mentioned MBTI, and he's like, oh yeah, I think I heard of that, and he's like, I said, yeah, I'm the INFJ, and he goes, wait, that's a feeler? He goes, there's no way you're a feeler, and I was like, yeah. He goes, she's like, you're one of the most logical people I know. Like, I'm like, yeah, it's a stereotype. It's just, whatever. But yeah, sometimes it'd be nice if they changed the words because we're like, well, especially guys when they see the word feeler, I think who wouldn't want to be logical or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But then you see the word T when it says can come across cold. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be that. And I'm like, more like fair rather than cold, but
yeah. See, guys will read that and go, oh yeah, that's me. I've been accused of that.
That's true. I can't think of anything else right now unless you can.
Yeah. Well, yeah, about let's see, going back to Enneagram 9. Well, the thing that struck me about 9 when I first looked at it was that it just seemed really NF to me. And so like it actually wouldn't surprise me to see a lot of INFJs being type 9s.
Yeah, and that's so strange. I haven't met many. I've met a couple, like 4 or 5 of us, but and nine's supposedly the most common Enneagram type. So,
Oh,
or
it
one of the
is?
most common ones. I was like, yeah, I forget where I heard that. I heard that from somebody, so that could be inaccurate, but somebody was like, who knew a lot about Enneagram more than I did.
Hmm.
I don't remember.
Have you been like have you joined like many nine type 9 forums?
Just one, and I read a few things, but I didn't really catch up or connect with it because I
Okay.
don't know why. Just in a bunch of groups.
Okay. Yeah, because I joined the Enneagram 9 Facebook group like when I was trying to figure out if I was a 9. And yeah, those are the people who thought I came across as a 5. And
Oh,
even now,
interesting.
like when I read some of their posts, I'm like, I don't relate to this at all. Or like, this, or they'll post like some inspirational messages, and I go, that doesn't really resonate with me. So I think, so I wonder like what their instincts are. If they're like SX or SO9s, because like,
I would think so because one of the nines I know is SX, SO, and one is SPSO. Yeah, so maybe if the SPSX maybe it is a more less common instinctual variant. I know an INFP who's a SPSX. So, and he's in technology too, which I find interesting. So I was like, I wonder if we are like the hybrid, if you're
yeah,
NFSPSX in a sense.
yeah, because like it was when I looked at the description of self-preservation 9s, I was like, oh yeah, that totally sounds like me.
Yeah, me too, me too. I remember when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's like crazy accurate. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
But I think the same thing with the Nine forum. That's kind of why I just was like, I haven't really gone because I don't remember really relating to it either. So I wonder what's up with that. I don't know, or maybe you're right because of the different variants.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, my theory is that, since a lot of the 9 descriptions are just kind of wacky and woogly and stuff, it's like the people that are going to identify with 9s are those who will relate to those descriptions. And so
That's
they're the
true.
ones you'll find in those groups. It's kind of like the ISTP group for me. Like, if there's so many really bad ISTP descriptions, well, somebody's going to relate to those. So they're the ones who are going to identify as ISTP. They're going to join the group, and they fit the stereotypes.
Yeah, and I think it's a matter of when mistypes too, when you want to be something versus what you are. So because I was like, when I first read all the description, I first typed as INFJ, and I immediately was like, no, 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 I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. I don't like that. I don't like that. Because I guess it's because you have to be like okay with who you are. Because I was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and then I was like, this is dumb. I was trying to force myself to be an extrovert. I'm an extrovert. I'm totally an extrovert. Come on. And my friend who's INTJ, I was mentioning to him, I knew him years ago, and I sent him an email and I said, see, I'm into MBTI. What type is yours? I kind of wonder now. And I said, mine is ENFJ. And he goes, no, that's not what you tested as originally. And he linked me to my old blog
Oh.
post, and I'm like, you jerk. Don't throw data in my face. I was like, I said, well, it could be off. It could be off. And he was like, well, I liked you better as an INFJ. Wow. He put a little wink, and I was like, oh, geez. But then later, yes, a practitioner helped me, and I was like, oh. And then I went to MBTI certification class, going, okay, yes, I'm probably an INFJ. I asked her, and she's a master practitioner, and she goes, yes. And the one guy was laughing at me later at class. He goes, how could you have, he goes, and I go, what is an INFP? And I said, what? And he goes, how could you ever have thought you were an extrovert? Look at you. You're just sitting here all quiet, just watching everybody. Like, yes, okay, I feel stupid. But yeah, so think you're right about somebody reads the descriptions and they're like, ooh, but versus what you would like to be. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just like me and being a J. Because like, you know, I've always wanted to think of myself as like on top of things and organized, and you know, like I know exactly where I'm going, you know, because like those are kind of like the values that I kind of taken on like through just it's not even just my parents. It's like just every environment that I've been in, like peers, teachers, you know, employers. They all kind of like stress those values of like having a plan and sticking to it, and yeah, and like
I can go with statistics again. There's more judgers in the world than perceivers, so that's why. You poor thing.
Yeah, and like, you know, especially like looking at what is it? Well, just looking at the ISTP descriptions, you know, I mean, not just the stereotypes, but just about talking about just being in the moment and enjoying life. And I was like, well, that sounds really irresponsible and childish. But then, you know, if you look at the way I do live my life, I was like, well, yeah, that's what I do. I just, you know, I've always thought of myself as like not as responsible as I wanted to be, and like kind of sort of failing at life in certain ways. And I was like, no, it's just me being an ISTP.
Well, there's all these. It's funny because you say that because there's all these yoga and Zen things. When I read them, and that's their main point. Their main thing is I'm like, okay, be in the moment, live in the present. And so it's funny. I'm thinking, well, they must be talking to Jays because now I have to like. Back in 2012, this lady did an esoteric conference about putting the temperaments with the elements. Like, what did she do? She did like all the different temperaments. Well, anyway, so she did SPs as fire, by the way, which I thought was cool, and NCs as air, and NFs is water because water is usually emotion, and SJs is earth, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, they're earthy. That makes sense. But she had said your last letter is your nemesis, so you try to be the whatever, you know, so that'll bring yourself more in balance. So I was like, okay, I'll try to be more perceiver like. So I was driving back to the hotel after this because I was at a conference, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with the flow. Maybe I should just drive forever. And I'm like, that's weird. Just like, but then what am I gonna do? I don't know. And I was going, yeah, this actually, I can see how this really is a challenge. So it's kind of funny when people seem like, you seem like you're so in your SE and in the moment. I said, that's because I practice every day. I'm like, okay, stop thinking about the future. You know, anxiety helps to think about the moment. But
yeah,
I think it is.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, it's like, it was more like something. Yeah. Yeah. It was like, I kind of learned to embrace that, you know, embrace my penis. I had to throw that out there.
You guys are so lucky you get to say that. Jay just doesn't sound cool, Janus. Penis.
Yeah.
So jealous.
But yeah. Once I started, you know, living on my own, doing these random road trips, and you know, not planning for them like I was taught to do, I was like, yeah, I can actually do this and not be stressed out about it. It's like, you know, like, oh wow, don't have to know where I'm going to spend the night tonight. Like, oh wow, this is fun. It's an adventure. It's like, okay, yeah, and then afterwards, like, yeah, that was fun. I should do it like that all the time. And so
that's awesome. Yeah, I did that a couple of times, and I thought the same thing. I was like, okay, I'm going to think of it. But I had actually trained my mind. I'm like, I'm going to think of this as an adventure. I was like, yeah, but where are I going to sleep? And I'm like, there's a bajillion hotels, self. I mean, I'm like, yeah, but what if they're full? I'm like, there's no way they're going to be full. I have to like tell every little thing, like, no, it'll be fine. No, it'll be fine. And then I can enjoy it. But it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, see, my mom would just think it's absolutely crazy to think like the P way, to not reserve a hotel, because like she just assumes the worst. Like, you know, what if it's all being full? What if we're only stuck with like some crappy motel, and you know, what if there's bugs in the bed, and what if there's rats, and so like, yeah, she just would not even entertain the thought of, of like just going with the flow. She has to have everything planned out.
Wow.
So
My
yeah, I
mom
mean,
would more say, "Well, you could save so much more money if you do it in advance."
mm, yeah. So, but yeah, planning stuff now actually stresses me out because it's like, it's like stuff that I normally would not want to have to think about until I'm actually there. And so it's like I'm thinking about all these things that I'm going to do and not getting to do them yet. And it's like, well, what if I decide I don't want to do that? Am I locked into this plan? Like, it's like reserving a motel, reserving like plane tickets. If I decide I want to do like, fly in on a different day, then it's like, well, what's it going to take to, to change that flight? And like, yeah, so that's like when I was, planning my Hawaii trip last year. It's like I knew that, these types of hotels had to be reserved in advance, otherwise they'd fill up, or I had to pay like 3 times as much or whatever. And so it was stressing me out because I was like this trip that was like months away, and like I didn't even know like what's going to happen between now and then. So it's, yeah, like
It's
having to
life
think
too. I
about.
think sometimes when you have things, even on the end of the spectrum, I'll have things planned and think it's solid, and then something will happen, and it's just I'm like, great. Well, I didn't see that coming. That sucks.
Yeah.
It would venture to guess, like, well, I mean, obviously from type that it shakes us a little harder. But I also like planning in a way because then for me, I get to look forward because I'm like, ooh, today, and I get to,
Yeah.
it's going to be so awesome. And then what else could I do? I could do whatever. So I guess that's where we find security and then joy in it.
Well, yeah, but I don't really think of that as planning. It's more like just having the idea in my head. Like, I'm looking forward to like going back to Hawaii because like they've already planned it. This event in 2017. They have the date set and everything. So I'm like, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I haven't actually solidified my own plans to go there yet, but it's like I know that's there, and like, if I end up going there, I know I'm going to really enjoy it. But I'm not like setting it on my own calendar or anything, or making or committing to it. I was like, yeah, I'm just looking forward to that.
Well, that's true. Maybe that's part of a human thing. I look forward to things, but I just mean if I have it nailed down, then it makes me feel more comfortable looking forward to it. Because I'm like, okay, so this is really going to happen. Even though life happened, as I've learned as I've gotten older, that's not always the case. You could have like a 5-year plan, and then like, I don't know, a plane could crash into your house, or well, it's kind of morbid, but or something.
Or something worse. You could get married.
I said at work one time, I'm like, I'm going to make sure to document this so you guys will know, because in case I ever get hit by a bus. And my INTJ boss was like, wait, what? That's really morbid, Anne. I was like, I never thought of that as morbid. I'm like, I'm just being realistic, Yeah. And she goes, or you could win the lottery. I said, that's a lot better. How about that? Yeah, or you could win the lottery. That's a much better way to think of it.
Yeah. I will say this. The thought of a plane crashing on my house is less scary than getting married. I can deal with a plane crashing on my house.
You're like, that I can fix or whatever.
Yeah. I just look for a new place to live. I'll have to buy more stuff, but I know how to deal with that. Marriage is like a big mystery to me. I don't know how to handle that.
I mean, you usually like someone you're going to be like, oh, crap, what now? I guess they have classes and books and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Apparently they work for people.
Yeah.
They didn't work for me, but apparently they work for some people.
I think it's mostly SJs teaching those classes.
I I never thought of that. That's really interesting. Yeah. Oh, that is interesting because.
Just a guess, though.
Yeah, because my mom is like that. I've noticed where her confidence level is like a class in something. Like it has to be a class with a teacher, and I'm like, but you could just kind of read something and learn it on your own, and she'll do that. But she's like, yeah, and I know it, but I would just feel more comfortable with the class. And I don't know. Is your mom the same way where she has to have a class, or
Kind of.
Oh.
Like, yeah, she suddenly got like way more confident about using a computer after she took a class on it.
Yeah, the same with my mom. Ooh. My phone is ringing, so hopefully it's no sun emergency. Children. It's probably my mom like, do you have his bathing suit? She likes to go swimming. I wonder if maybe we should end for now, because in case it's an emergency or something.
Okay.
But we should do this again, because this is fun.
Yeah. Interesting discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah.